Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Hey There, It's Yogi Bear from 1964. This is a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. This winner was selected by Dan Leon. Now, this is a pretty historic movie. It is the first Hanna Barbera movie. Is the first feature film directed by Joseph Barbera and William Hanna. It is also the first feature theatrically released film based on a television cartoon character. So, pretty big stuff there. I don't know if this is, despite all of those things, and I think, this starting that out led to, even the Rugrats movies, Paw Patrol, all those things started with Mr. Yogi Bear, which is great. But I don't know if this is an amazing movie. I sort of think it is. Kind of shows the era in which it was made. I think there's things to like about it, but I don't know if it really holds up as well as maybe just an average Yogi Bear cartoon does, but it does definitely 100% have certain moments that really stuck out that I really loved. Hanna-Barbera is known for its limited animation, its cutting around the corners, and it felt like this story and the script needed probably a little more work. I don't know if they're rushing a release date or something, but it just felt a little, just not fully thought out the way something like this probably should have been. And I think you kind of can feel it, and it feels a little lazier than I think, the big event of like Yogi Bear's on the big screen probably should have been. This is about Yogi Bear is being up to a lot of mischief, one of which is being a food inspector for Jellystone Park, which I thought that was actually pretty funny. It was a good idea, Yogi. He's causing all this mischief. Ranger Smith tells Yogi, or someone offers him the idea that one of the bears will be sent to the San Diego Zoo. And so Yogi tells him that he will do that because they're really starting to clamp down on him stealing picnic baskets, which he doesn't do enough in this movie, frankly. But he convinces another bear, who I've never heard of in my life, to take his spot, and then he's going to pretend to sort of not be around so he can become the Brown Phantom. And Boo Boo's kind of upset, and Cindy Bear is also upset, and she decides she will also tell Ranger Smith that she wants to go to the zoo, but she gets sent to the St. Louis Zoo. So the San Diego Zoo, Boo Boo tries to stop it, he's unsuccessful, and then when Yogi is revealed to be the Brown Phantom, Boo Boo's like, we have to go save Cindy Bear because she loves you and junk, apparently, and they go and try to get Cindy Bear. Now, a big problem I have with this movie is I do not give a fuck about Cindy Bear. She's just not really interesting to me. I just don't get why Yogi, who's like a perpetual bachelor, would like chill with Cindy Bear. That doesn't make any sense. Like I don't get the Cindy Bear thing. I'm sorry, like I'm all for him having a boo-boo and all that stuff and stealing people's picnic baskets, and I get that, Yogi doesn't like capitalism, obviously. So like the things like that, totally fine with. But Cindy Bear, I think, is kind of a crap character. So that sort of hurts this movie for me. I just don't like Cindy Bear, sorry. But I think certain elements, certainly Yogi just being Yogi, still works very well. There's a sequence where they're going from Jellystone to start their journey to St. Louis, and that was really great, of just Yogi falling into various things that keeps getting them moving forward, and that was like really fun. It did make me think they should do a reboot where Yogi's like a CEO who keeps like it working out for him or something, because I think he'd be actually really good at that. But that was really great. There's a St. Louis song, which is absolutely wonderful, actually, of these beers doing this like St. Louis song. That was really great. But I think this plot doesn't really make sense. There's whole stretches without Yogi Bear and Cindy Bear, which is like, I don't understand that. Also, I don't like Cindy Bear, so there's that part of it. But it's also like, I get like they're basically doing what Beavis and Butthead Do America would do, I guess, like 30 years after this, whereas like we can't just have character be where they normally are. They need to, run around and, do other stuff. It's a big screen movie. I think Beavis and Butthead understood, and Mike Judge was maybe smarter at being a filmmaker for feature films. So he understood you had to do all these other things and have an interesting plot and all that. Whereas like this is just like, I don't know, they're going to do this. Maybe he'll have a parade with cats for no reason. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess. I don't, like, didn't make a lot of fucking sense to me. And it wasn't funny. It was just like, okay. It really felt very half-baked, the whole plot of it. I know they had Fritz Feeling and a lot of like Warner Brothers people because Looney Tunes is shut down and they had those people. But like even with that, this is not a really great movie. I think it has certain great elements to it. This did go over well when it came out in 1964. It was re-released in January 1986. I actually have memories of my dad mentioning we saw a Yogi Bear movie. I texted him about it. He had no clue what I was talking about. And I have no memory of this movie before seeing it this time. So maybe I saw it, but I don't know. So cool story. And then it's been released on DVD and Blu-ray several different times. It's currently streaming on Boomerang. And it seems like because there was not a ton of animated films at the time, this got fairly well reviewed and well received. And there were other animated films like, the Charlie Brown ones, which I've also reviewed through one of these, and the Disney stuff and stuff, but there wasn't a ton. So I think like you could sort of get away with this, maybe because of the lack of competition. I don't know. Hanna Barbera did make other films. They made a Flintstone movie right after this. And they didn't direct another film until the Jetsons movie. There were only 3 feature films they did. They did do more things that were released on the big screen because most of those classic Tom and Jerry shorts that they made were released on the big screen. So if you're ever like, oh, they didn't really get to mess with the big screen, they did, and probably better than all their feature films with all those Tom and Jerry shorts, which are, I would say, all pretty excellent. The ones they just released theatrically. When they did them later with Hanna Barbera, those were pretty horrible just for TV, but when they were for theaters, those were all really great. And I wish they'd showed that ingenuity here, because I think the problem with Hanna Barbera is, you can sort of get in the sort of pure crappiness, because like whereas they took the UPA style of simplicity, which was done for an artistic reason, and they're like, hey, what if we just, this looks like we make animation cheaper, and they made like a whole business out of that limited animation stuff. And this is not as limited as TV. It comes a lot more alive. I did rewatch the movie Bear and was like, that's very, very limited. I think the thing is like those crappy limited ones where you're just stealing picnic baskets and stuff, I think work better. It's like Hanna-Barbera, and they're much smarter at doing shorts and short ideas than longer ones, probably why they didn't do it very often. I mean, I haven't seen the Flintstone movie. I have seen the Jetsons movie before, but it's been a while, but I saw it a bunch of times. But I do think they weren't really good at keeping these going, and had they just done 5 shorts in this and had some connective tissue, it probably would have been fine, frankly. But the way this is why is he the Brown Phantom? Why is he just gone for a long stretch of the movie so we can see Cindy fuck around with Boo Boo and what do we do? And then the San Diego Zoo thing is strange, and I mean there was parts where Yogi's we should call the president, and Ranger Smith trying to talk to him, he goes, no, I'm not the president. And there's certain funny things at Jellystone, certain funny good moments in this, but I don't think this really works. It is interesting to see how they would do the first film based on a TV cartoon character, and almost how they would do the Beavis and Butthead Do America format before, you had someone who understood how to actually write a screenplay, which I think this movie doesn't really have very well. If you like Yogi Bear, I would recommend this, but I don't think this is I didn't show this to my kids, my daughter likes Jellystone and certain elements of that, but I don't think it has fun with Yogi. It's just what can we do with Yogi, not thinking of having fun with him. One of the great things about Tom and Jerry, and even the Yogi stuff, is that they have fun with those characters, and I don't get any of that from Hanna-Barbera in this, which is unfortunate, because I do think there's a lot to do with this character, but they just aren't seemingly interested to just do this. They have a couple good sequences, which I think are really good. Him just backtracking into a cross-country journey is pretty funny. Him being the food inspector, doing Yogi stuff. But then it's when they find her, and then there's a huge portion of the movie of them coming back. I was is this like you're filling out a runtime? Because it feels like Sideshow Bob is stepping on rakes right now, but not that funny. I think Hanna-Barbera's legacy is more imaginative than they get credit for. They were better animators than they get credit for, certainly. But I think the thing that hurts them is like crap like this, which is like, maybe it's interesting. It's interesting to think, how you would have done it back then. It's an interesting, kind of historical piece. But as a movie, I just don't necessarily see it. I like the St. Louis song. I didn't like Cindy's song. I just don't like Cindy Bear. I'm just like she's supposed to be the driving force. Like if it was Boo Boo, like Rose before hose, you know what I'm saying? But also it's like Boo Boo, there's like that established relationship with, like, I get that, but like just was like suddenly it's like he misses Cindy Bear. I'm like, no, he misses picnic baskets. Do that shit. Like, I don't want to watch like this random whatever. Maybe this one wasn't for me. I think clearly, because I may have seen it when I was like 2 and don't remember it. I don't even think my dad's a Yogi guy. I thought he was more of a Top Cat guy. He was talking about Top Cat. It was fun rewatching some Yogi Bear shorts to kind of make sure I knew what I was talking about. That was fun. Watching this was interesting historically. I think it held my attention. I think they made a blueprint that other animated films could do a lot better with, but I think they spent way more time developing it, and this felt very much like they're like, I don't know, maybe it'll play in the afternoon, maybe people will like it, it'll be fine. Not much consideration to play this more than just sort of a cash grab, which I think is extremely disappointing. But if you like Yogi Bear and like Hanna-Barbera, I would recommend it because you can sort of see the seeds of what would later become cartoon characters going to movies. And yeah, that is interesting. It doesn't even SpongeBob do a road movie. They all do road movies, and it's all starting from here. So this sets that precedent. That's interesting. It is actually interesting. Like, it is interesting. It is historic. It is amazing it did it. Hanna-Barbera, and I know Hanna-Barbera is able to do so much more. And I think that's sort of like one thing, but also just one thing you think about, but I also just don't really love this movie. When I was done with it, I was sort of like, yeah, I don't need to ever do that again. But it's interesting to see like almost everyone who has a TV character, when they brought him to the big screen, they feel like they need to go on an epic journey. Why that is, I don't know. I think with Beavis and Butthead, it worked more because they just take on like a crime fugitive kind of thing, which I think like, Yogi Bear, maybe Hanna-Barbera needed to see more movies. Maybe that was it. But it is interesting that this is where that all came from. But I think sometimes it's not necessarily that you're first, it's really what you do with the idea of what was first in the first place. And I think when you think of that, it doesn't necessarily do it, but thinking of the history it begat makes this film a lot more fascinating than probably the quality of it has any right to give us. But I'm still glad I sort of understand that journey a little better. So if you've seen Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to.